I'm Catherine O'Brien from Celtic College Consultants, and I'd like to welcome you to the Transition to College, the Getting Ready for College, Getting Ready to Move to Campus webinar. As a college planner for the last 11 years with Celtic College Consultants, I have dealt with countless situations with students moving across town to across the country to overseas, getting ready to go to college, and it's daunting. There are so many things to consider, so many things to prepare, things they don't know. So I prepared this webinar in order to give a lot of information. And I am going to be doing a lot of reading, which is atypical for me, and not using slides because there's just an incredible amount of information that needs to be given. We're going to be talking about academic issues, social issues, logistical issues, personal skills, all sorts of areas. So I strongly encourage you to take notes, and you'll have 24 hours after the webinar, if everything works, all the technology works correctly, to watch it a second time, which you're welcome to do. I'm going to recommend that you purchase 2 books. Together they cost less than $25 from Amazon, so and they're going to be well worth it to have on your shelf after you've read them. So I don't know if you're aware, but many students return home after 1 or 2 semesters. And I really want to do my part to stop that from happening, to give you the information that you need before you get to campus so that you can be successful once you get there. I also want to let you know that about a quarter of all college students seek mental health care, counseling of some kind, while they're on campus. And I'm telling you that because you might need it. It might come in handy. And I want you to be comfortable with that, just to know that an awful lot of college kids use it. It's very common to be depressed, have some anxiety, just need to sort some things out, need a sounding board. There's a lot of things that can happen, and it can be tough to handle. So every campus has counseling. They're usually very good people there. And I encourage you that when you need help, to seek it. Okay, so I have a couple of things before you go and your academics. I strongly encourage that you would use Khan Academy, that's KHAN Academy.com, to review your math. Over the summer, you've forgotten a lot of things, and the college pace is twice as fast as the high school pace. And so things are going to be happening fast, and you really need to be on your toes. So I strongly encourage you to look in Khan Academy and review the course that you took last year in preparation for the next math class that you're going to have on campus. And it doesn't matter if your skills are strong or weak, it's a good idea to review no matter who you are. Secondly, please purchase and read a book called How to Become a Straight A Student by Cal Newport. Cal was a Phi Beta Kappa at Dartmouth. He's now a PhD from MIT, if I remember correctly. And what he did was survey a whole bunch of other Phi Beta Kappas, that's the honor society for college kids. So he's at Ivy League schools, so very difficult to get into schools, and he's interviewing the top tier of students. And it's not written like an interview. It's actually very, very readable, very readable, and it's written student to student. And he goes through how to sort out the reading list and deal with the overwhelming demands and figure out how to be really efficient in your studying and get top grades and master the material. It's not like get the grade and move on and forget it all, because so often it builds. You actually are learning things at college. You're not just passing tests. And he goes through both the humanities side as well as the arts and science side, how to do that. So I strongly encourage you to purchase his book and to read it. It's 10 or 11 bucks on Amazon, so it's well worth it. And you'll notice there's just an awful lot that he does that really helps you be efficient with your time. One of the things that he noticed were those top students that were getting the great grades were also able to do a lot of other things. So they might have been socializing a lot, or an awful lot of them were doing research or work or volunteer work off campus. And they had the time to do those things, be they recreational, athletic, whatever they were doing, because they were being really efficient with their time and they were really mastering the material in their courses very effectively. So I strongly encourage you to get that book. As I said, it's called How to Become a Straight A Student by Cal Newport, and it's available through Amazon. The other academic thing to do before you go to campus is to set career goals. If you haven't already got some in mind, I strongly encourage that you would email me and have me set up a Career Dimension account. They're $55 through me, which is a little cheaper than you can get them on your own, and start to really sort out, what do I want to do? What kind of careers pop up? And the account is something you'll be able to go back to for years and years. And if you forget your login, just email me. I'll still be around and I can let you know what it is. And there's a bunch of surveys in it, and it links you to jobs, and you can click on all of those careers, see what majors, even what schools have those majors, what they do, and then if you can go to other places, Bureau of Labor Statistics and other places, to see how much do you make doing that. Is it a growing field, shrinking field? And seeing, do I really have the skill set? And as you're starting to look at a career, the other thing that I suggest you do with it, go look at some want ads. Who's hiring people to do that career that you're thinking about? What are the requirements that they're looking for? That gives you an idea of what do I need to accomplish in order to get hired in that field at an entry level, obviously. But even further on, because sometimes getting a master's is easier to do in conjunction with your bachelor's or shortly after your bachelor's than get it later, and it'll make a big difference in some careers. So having that information will be very, very helpful to you. So those are the three academic things. Review your math with Khan Academy, read How to Become a Straight A Student by Cal Newport, and then setting career goals. It makes a huge, huge difference. The goal here is to get you graduated in 4 years, not 6. Okay, so there are some other things to do, very practical tasks you need to get accomplished before you go off to campus. First, if you don't already have one, you need a bank account. And so many things are electronic, you need to have one with a debit card. And you would like to have one with a branch that's near home and a branch near campus. That way, if your parents need to access your account and do something, they can. And if you need to access your account and do something, you can. And that way, it just works better for everyone else. Set up a budget. Have that conversation with your parents. How am I going to pay for things? How am I going to buy books? If I want pizza, what happens? If I need new sneakers, how do I get them? If my jacket rips, I need deodorant, toothpaste, all of those things. Set up a budget with them and a means for communicating about financial things and a means for you to track it. So there's various ways to do that. You have apps on your phone. You can use spreadsheets, your checkbook, a million things you can do. So have that conversation. Talk to your parents about how they do it. If they don't do it, all right, makes the conversation more interesting. A lot of people don't budget, but it actually makes a lot of sense to get in charge of your money so that you know, oh, there's this event, there's this concert coming in, or this speaker, or this event that I want to go to, the theatrical production, and it's $25 or $5 or $50, and I know I can afford it. It fits into my budget. It won't bother anything else, or I need to give this one a pass, or if I want to do that, it means this other thing. I'm going to have to wait on it or not do it. Instead of, hi, Mom, Dad, I'm out of money, because they might not have any money to give you. So you need to be responsible with the funds that you're given. College is super expensive, and it's your time to grow up and take responsibility for yourself. And part of that is the financial aspect. So figure out how to have a budget. And it's very okay to say, well, gee, I'm going to spend X amount a month, and we're going to do it like this. And to call them 6 weeks in and say, that's really not working. I don't need that much money, or I need more money than that, and this is why, and this is what's going on, and this is what I'm noticing, and adjust things as you go. But you're now having an adult conversation with your parents about financial matters, which is great. That's very, very helpful. If possible, register for and order your books for your fall semester classes before you even get there. Have them delivered to your box on campus or your room. Depending on where you are, I suppose you could have them delivered at home if you're driving to school. You want to set up your campus email address and do any online orientation programs that they have for you. Some schools have extensive online orientation, and then there's also on-campus orientation. Other schools don't use any. So you'll need to be watching for emails on whatever email you use to apply to the school and setting up. Usually there's a my name or my variation of my name at the name of my school.edu email for every student. But some schools don't do that. So you'll want to see how that is and watch for that, because you're going to get notices about promissory notes from the financial aid office and things to do if you've got work study and what to do about your dorm, and even notification about the classes that you're registered for, books to get, your roommate, all those sorts of things. So you want to be able to access that email. And if you're not, because you're just used to using your Gmail or whatever you had set up in high school, well, you're missing a whole lot of things you need to know about. Next, you need to clear out your room. You need to sort out what you want to take to school with you, what you want to store at home, and get rid of the rest. Reality is you're moving out, and somebody else is going to use your space while you're gone. A few of us will leave an empty room and nobody's going to need it, and so we don't have to sort things as much. But at some point, somebody's going to have to sort it. And it might be us 4 years later, or it might be our parents going through all that stuff. So really, it's best for you to sort it and to prepare the room to be available as a guest room, or to be used by a sibling or grandparent or whoever is going to be using it. But if you have your things stored away and your parents know, that bottom drawer is full of X, Y, and Z, I would like to keep that. They're keepsakes from childhood. I didn't know where else to put them. They're there. Or I have these things I want to, where would you like me to put them? The rest of my room is available. It's, empty. However you have that. Or I'm just go through your things. And obviously you need to communicate with your parents, because you may have family books stored in your room, other things. Okay? So do that though, because otherwise you're going to be off at school and somebody else in your family is going to go through your stuff that you've left at home and move it because somebody's visiting or whatever. You have no idea. So it's going to be best for everyone if you clear it out. But a lot of times we're not thinking about it. We're thinking about where we're going, and we're really forgetting what we're leaving behind and setting that up for the next person. The other thing I would suggest that you do is have a conversation. Maybe go out for a drink with your parents, and get a coffee or something, and sit and say, okay, how do we want to communicate once I'm at school? I prefer to text, or I like calls, or email, or whatever it is. And this one's a hard one, and it really helps if the student goes and talks to the parents, because we're used to seeing you every day and knowing what's happening in your life. And if things are going well, they're not going well. You need some assistance with something, whatever. And we just see you, and we like having you around. And we know you're okay. Even if we don't talk that day because we're busy and our schedules are different, we know that you're around and you're okay. But once you go to campus, you're in kind of another world, doing whatever it is over there, and you're living over there, and we're not seeing you. We don't know that you're okay. And so as parents, we're trying to give you space. We're trying not to call you constantly and say, okay, what's going on? It's really not your job to report everything that's going on, but we need to know that you're doing okay. We are interested, and as much as you'd like to share, depending on your relationship with your parents, sometimes you'll have more to say, and other times you won't have as much to say. You have to sort that out. But if you have a ground rule, especially with your mom, because we moms, we like to hear from our kids usually. I'm going to talk to you every Sunday. So she knows if something happens, by 9 o'clock Sunday night, local time, whichever one of you guys that's later for, and she hasn't heard from you, she's going to pick up the phone and be very justified in calling you and interrupting whatever you're doing, saying, hey, I haven't heard from you all week. It's Sunday, and what's going on? And on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, when she wants to pick up the phone, she says, nope, I'm going to call on Sunday. So it'll help her not bother you and help everybody just stay in touch. But have a baseline like that and set it up. And please don't forget your dad. A lot of times we'll let the communication happen through mom and we won't communicate through dad. And dads are important people, so let's have that going on as well. If you have multiple people in different households, figure out however you want to handle that. But keep in touch with folks. If you want to do an e-blast, or you're going to do Facebook posts or whatever so that they know what's going on, that's fine. But if everybody is on the same page, it will go much more smoothly, and we parents will not bother you as much once you're on campus and doing your own thing. At the same time, please know it's perfectly okay. Many of us went to college, so we know about being homesick. We know about being disoriented and not sure about things and scared sometimes. And it's okay to call home and say, gee, I just want to talk to a friendly face. I know your voice. I know who you are. I just want to talk to you and not deal with all this stuff right now. And that's okay too. Okay, so some things to learn. Now there's a lot here. So kind of my apologies, because some of these are going to just be like very data loaded. And we'll start with some easy things. First, we're going to start with time management. By now, you should be scheduling your own activities and coordinating with the family schedule. You're always going to have to coordinate with somebody's schedule that you're living with or working with or have classes with or reporting to or something. So get used to that. But if you're scheduling your own activities at this point, you're making sure that you can get there, you can get back, you have meals happening, you have the clothing and other things that you need for being there, all those sorts of things. So you're taking on some responsibility for your schedule. That's very important. You will definitely be doing that on campus. So the more that you're doing it now, it will be helpful. Secondly, you want to be able to plan complex tasks. And let me explain what a syllabus is. So a syllabus is something you'll see in college that you haven't seen before. So it may be a piece of paper, it may be something on the website for the class, depending on how your teacher has it set up. They will all do it a little bit differently, but it's going to say, hey, I'm Professor so-and-so, my office is wherever my office is, and my office hours are whenever they are. And what office hours are for a professor is that's time where he or she is going to be in that office and they're going to be available. So they might be working on something, but that's secondary. Their first time, during that time, that first priority is to answer any questions, talk to any students who drop by. So I strongly urge you the first week of class to go to all of your professors' office hours. So you know where all the offices are. You say hello, introduce yourself. I'm from wherever I'm from, and give me some tips on how to do well in your class, and listen to what they have to say. Okay, you've gone to class, but you're also connected with them outside of class now. And when you have problems later, you can talk to them. Sometimes you can go to them and say, okay, here's the thesis for my paper, and here's the arguments, and this is what I was planning, a week or two ahead before the paper's due. And they can say, yeah, that looks really good. Or, wow, your research on this end looks a little weak, and the argument isn't very strong, it's not well put together, whatever. And you can work on it instead of getting that in your, big D in your grade. You get it a couple weeks ahead. Oh, I can tweak that. I can adjust that. All right, that's great feedback. And it's just easier to go and get that sort of thing if you have already said hello. The other thing you can do, especially us girls, but sometimes the guys, I babysit, I pet sit, I could mow your lawn. If you ever need a hand, I'm really handy around the house. I can repair things, that kind of thing. Some professors are really nice people, and they just are dreadful about home repairs. So if they have, you and your Johnny on the spot or Janie on the spot, and you can fix anything and do electrical work and this and that, let them know. One of the best relationships I have with one of my graduate student professors, it's now 25 years later, we're still friends. It started because he and his wife were in a jam and they needed a babysitter. I wasn't big on babysitting, but I didn't have anything else going. So, all right, I'll babysit for you. And it turned into a great friendship. So having those sorts of things going on is very helpful as well. And it also helps lead into research opportunities and other things as well for graduate school. Okay. Okay, so another on the syllabus. So we've got through the professor's name, where their office is, their office hours. And then they're going to have what's basically going on, the couple of goals for the class, and then what the readings are, maybe But usually it's going to give the midterm, it's going to give major exams, major projects, the final date, final paper project, whatever it is for that class, and that's it. And you may never hear again that October 22nd is going to be an exam. And you show up to class that day and like, oh my, we're having the midterm. It's 40% of my grade. And I wasn't paying any attention and I didn't put it on my calendar. And now here I am unprepared. And my grade just sunk, right? And we're after the drop bad time and oh my, I can't get out of this class. What am I going to do? Versus I got my syllabus, I put it all on my calendar, and I started backing it out. Okay, I've got the midterm then. So I'm like studying for the midterm for 2 weeks before that. Already in my calendar. I have no idea what I'm studying yet because we haven't learned anything because it's the first day, but it's already there. And so then I'm going to hit that. Let's see, I said the 22nd, so I'm going to go back 14 days to the 8th and go, oh, yeah, the midterm of this class is coming up in 2 weeks. Start putting together my outlines and the rest of it. Oh, now I get there on the 22nd. Oh, I'm ready to go. And you just see those kids with the deer in the headlights look on their face, like, and you're like, I got this thing. Okay. That's where you want to be. So the syllabus is going to give you that. And a lot of professors will never say another thing. So if you have a paper due, whatever, they will not say it again. It's not like high school where it's going to be on the board and tomorrow get done this and that and the other thing. And the next day do this and the next, not at all. And I'm going to check your little notebook to see if you did all the homework, blah, blah, blah. Not happening. It's all on you. So that syllabus is gold and it's not got a lot on it. You are going to have to create the rest of the structure to get everything else done. Sometimes they will have topics because you need to have certain amount of reading done for certain lectures, days, and discussions. So you'll need to throw that in your schedule. But you really want to spend those first couple of days when you get the syllabus with your calendar, putting things in there and just load it up so you have it all there and it's laid out. It's all in one place for you. Because, of course, your roommate's got different classes than the person across the hall and everybody else. So that's all very, very different. But you want to be able to do that. So be able to plan complex tasks. Basically how you do that, in case you haven't figured it out yet, is you're going to make intermediate goals. So I've got that paper due or like I said, on the midterm on the 22nd and the 2 weeks before to study and put together my outline. I'm going to review my notes and create my super outline and my questions and my master problem sets so I have an example of each one and all the rest. So Cal Newport goes through how to do that really, really well. But I'm going to be setting interim or intermediate goals and deadlines. I'm working towards this paper. So getting my thesis sorted out and my sources is done by this date. And my research is done by that date. And my organization of the paper and the synthesis is done by that date. And the writing of this portion is done by that date, et cetera, et cetera. And then it's done. And I always, always, always give a false deadline. If it's due on the 22nd, I want it done by the 19th or 20th because stuff happens. You got to turn it in by email. They're going to respond and they got it and the stupid email's down or whatever. That way you've got some wiggle time to get it done, sort out whatever the technical issues are and still have it on time because late is not a thing. Okay, late is zero. Got that? Late is zero. It's not, we'll take a letter grade off. It's usually a 0. Will not accept it. Thank you anyway, it was due. You missed the deadline. So deadlines are huge at college. So you want to be able to do that now, okay? The next thing I have is to use a planner. That should already be obvious from what I've been discussing, but you need to use a planner. You can be an electronic planner. It can be one that's on paper. It's up to you what works for you, and feel free to try different things. It's okay. There's lots of them available, but you must use a planner. Must, must, must. And you must be checking it every day. What do I need to do today? You may even lay out your week. What do I have going this week? What are my fixed events? What is due when? So my blocks of study time. Because I want to go to that concert Friday night, so let me see if I can make space for it and get everything done I need to get done. So do that. But you have to have a planner to do that. You need to have something concrete. Even if it's Google Calendar or something where the blocks are on the computer. You need to be able to see it, move it around, and then check it to follow it, to know what to do every day. Okay, I want to talk about all-nighters for a second. You may or may not have heard of an all-nighter. An all-nighter means staying up all night to do schoolwork or for some other purpose. And they're dumb, okay? They don't work. So you always hear the line, I do my best work last minute. I don't need to revise it. I can get it done. I'll just crank it through. I'll be fine. And it's not true, okay? They don't get as good at grades on a consistent basis at all right? So there's no reason to do any all-nighters ever during college. None. Zero. Be organized. Keep regular hours. Take care of yourself. Get your work done. You will be fine. There's no reason to ever do an all-nighter. Because an all-nighter is a snowball effect, okay? So I didn't get the paper done, so here I am caffeinating and sugaring to stay up all night and getting this thing done and cranking my way through the wee hours and getting the thing done and getting my thing done. And then I want to crash because I'm just totally done. But so it rolls right into that next day. I'm missing all my classes, or I'm missing work or meals or whatever, certainly sleep. So it just snowballs into causing problems. So now I've got the paper done for class number 1, but I've missed lectures for class numbers 2, 3, and 4, and this and that, and I'm late for work, and it just doesn't work very well. Or I'm pressing myself through all those things, and now I'm tired for a whole bunch of things, and the quality of my ability to understand what's going on in the lecture, furthermore, I'll be able to write it down. It's totally different. And God forbid I have a Socratic discussion the next day because I am not going to be able to put two thoughts together and articulate them effectively in class. Okay, so let's just not do all-nighters. Being planned, there's no reason. Read Cal Newport's book, honestly. There is no reason at all. If they can do it at Phi Beta Kappa at Dartmouth, I did engineering at Northwestern. We're telling you there's no reason. There is no reason to do that. So just don't. Another thing that may be a little counterintuitive is to get a job. You're thinking, I'm going to be swamped. College is a lot harder. And college is a lot harder. The requirements are a lot higher. So absolutely positively, you want to check in with professors and writing centers and other people to check the caliber of your work so that you don't find out on that first quiz going, oh, that's just a D. And it was good enough for an A in high school, because this is not high school anymore. So if you can get that check without having it be official, great. Otherwise, you're going to get checked on that first test. But get a job, because when you have a huge expanse, I have nothing scheduled for the next 2 days, or you can schedule it so all your classes are Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So you've got 4-day weekends every weekend, and you want to party every weekend. Or you're going to go skiing, or you want to go home, or whatever. It's really easy to just blow 4 days out of 7 every week because you have no structure. You're going to go do that goofy stuff, and you're not getting any of your schoolwork done. When you have a job for 8 to 15 hours a week, it improves your grades. There's been a bunch of studies on it. It improves your grades because it forces you to use your time well. It's a couple more blocks of time that are fixed. You have to get all your other work done around. So it forces you to be effective. So you have to be focused. And that's really helpful. We all need deadlines. And having 8 hours of work a week, 15 hours of work a week, I mean, that's just a few shifts. If the short shifts, not a big deal. It's going to make a few dollars, but it's really going to help you nail down your time because you're going to have to get this done because, lo and behold, I've got a closing shift, and so I can't pull the all-nighter. I have to be done. Okay, so I'll get it done. I got time 2 days before, whatever. A few practical skills. If you haven't figured it out by now, learn how to do your own laundry. How do you sort your clothes so that the colors do not stain the whites? What do you do with the finer fabrics? How do you handle different things? What do you do with things that are have a lot of elastic? You need to know. You need to know. Everything has labels. If you actually read the back of the detergent box, there's an awful lot of information there about how to do laundry. You can Google and find videos and things to tell you. But you need to know how to wash your laundry, how to dry your laundry, how to fold your laundry. Okay, nobody's going to do that for you at college. And you don't want to be the person in the dorm going, I don't know how to do this. Where does this machine work? What do I do? When do I do this? So, and you're also going to need to do a little planning because you're going to end up babysitting your laundry because everybody knows it happens. I put a load of laundry in and I went to the bathroom, or I went and watched something for half an hour, or studied in my room for half an hour and went back to put it in the dryer and it was gone. People do, I don't know why, but they steal loads of laundry. And so that means you're going to put your load in the wash and you're going to hang out in the laundry area and study if you can, or do some reading or something. And so you have to start to figure out what kind of schoolwork can I do while I'm there. Sometimes I could do my reading and annotate the text or take notes on it. Sometimes I'm going to do problem sets. Just depends. Okay? But you need to know what you're doing with the machines. And depending on where you're at, you may have the ones that are extra capacity, which is really nice. You can do just a couple loads and you're done. Here's your whites, here's your coloreds, we're done. And then get that stuff put away. Because obviously, unlike home where you can maybe leave that laundry basket laying around and walk around it, your dorm room is the size of a shoebox. And there's at least 2 of you in there. And so you don't have space for your laundry. How are you going to carry your laundry back and forth? All kinds of little interesting questions you're going to get into. You're not living at mom and dad's anymore. Okay? Another really practical thing is learn how to prepare your favorite snacks, a few meals. You need to be able to do some simple cooking. A lot of dorms have kitchens on the floor, which is really nice. So you might have 3 or 4 floors of the dorm and you'll have 3 or 4 kitchens. But that gives you a chance to cook something, and you'll have a fridge in your room probably, and store it. Depending if you've got any special needs on your diet, you'll definitely be into making some of your own stuff. So you'll need to know, where do I get those ingredients? How do I do that? How do I store it? How long will it last? What are good ways to carry it around with me? Because I'm diabetic or something. I need to eat little meals, have snacks. How do I take them with me? So just get all that stuff sorted out, because otherwise you're going to buy the junk food because it's fast and it's easy and it's right there. It's more expensive and it's not as good for you. And you've got to take care of yourself. A lot of college kids get really worn down and they fall into depression and a lot of other things because they're not getting enough sleep and they're not eating right. So if you get enough sleep, you eat right, and plan your schedule, you're golden. You're going to be able to be fine with everything else. So let's make sure you get enough sleep. Make sure you eat right. So know how to make some things. It's also really nice, especially when you get older. Sometimes there are suites and you'll have a kitchen, a dining area, and you just let your suite mates know, and you're going to have a special person over. And you can do the whole candlelight dinner thing. If you have some idea of how to cook something, it's really helpful. And no, you're not going to have extensive kitchenware, but it's not that hard. You'll figure it out. And you'll learn how to share too. You absolutely positively need to have good, regular habits about sleeping. You need 8 hours of sleep. Get them on a regular basis. Go to bed at 10, up at 6, whatever works for you. Bed at 11, up at 7. Okay? When do you get to breakfast? You have time before that, so you've got get your clothes on and get a shower, get your clothes on, get your teeth brushed, make your bed, tidy up your room, grab your stuff, and off to breakfast. Okay? In time for breakfast and then the first class. You might have an 8 o'clock class. You're getting to breakfast at 7:15. You're not a morning person. Oh, well. Okay, but you need to be getting your 8 hours of sleep. So bedtime is actually one of the most important things to keep. And you want to have a regular routine. So you're not up till 2 in the morning on the weekends and then trying to go back to bed at 11. And it gets really hard. An occasional thing here or there that's special, but you really want to keep a regular routine and make sure you're getting enough sleep. The other thing is you want to make sure you get some exercise. 3 to 5 times a week makes a difference. Especially, this may sound really counterintuitive, but when you've got exams and big problem sets and things going on, you want to make sure you get it. It's a great way to relieve stress and collect your thoughts, actually. A lot of times you can do the basic layout for a paper and go off for a run or work out in the gym or whatever and just go do some physical stuff or go play IM sports or something, and then come back and, oh, it's flowing much better because you're in the back of your mind, you were thinking about all of those thoughts and the progression of the argument to support your thesis that you were preparing while you were doing the athletic thing. And, there are some wonderful hormonal things that happen when you're exercising. So it's a really good idea to get some exercise 3 to 5 times a week. Just make a habit of it. Just get it into your life. If it's walks in the woods or time at the gym or in the pool, whatever works for you, just do it. I also want to say, in general, during the college years, you plan on probably like 3 times-ish while you're getting your undergraduate degree of having these moments where you're just really wondering if you have the ability to continue on the path you've chosen. And you just don't know if you can cut it to get the degree that you're thinking you were going to get. Expect that to happen several times while you're there. Now, don't, fold up your mat and go home when it happens. Think about it and then get some outside counsel. It's really critical in these moments to get some outside counsel. Sit with a professor, your advisor, and explain what you're seeing, explain what you're noticing, and get some feedback. Because sometimes it's just a bump in the road. A lot of people hit it, but they've already seen that you have what it takes to go beyond. Other times, yeah, you do need to change. You don't have the right gift set to do whatever it is you were thinking. And an advisor or a professor can be really helpful at helping you sort that out. I remember when I went to college, I started as a chemistry major, and I was hotshot. I just didn't know what I didn't know, and I thought I was, Miss Janie Smarty Pants. And so the second quarter, I took honors organic chemistry, and I had no business being in that class whatsoever, none. Should have just been a regular orgo, but I was thinking I always did honors stuff in high school. I'll do honors here. Just didn't know. I was at Northwestern, like killer school. I'm trying to take honor stuff, and I wasn't awesome at chemistry. I just wasn't. I brute strength had gotten my way through a lot of it, but it just wasn't me. And spent a lot of time with a professor when I realized that, because I was really lost. I had no idea what to do. I was thinking, I guess I'll just go quit college. He was horrified, but I really had no other idea what to do. And he helped me figure out what else to do. And that was very helpful. And he did clarify that, yes, you are correct. You do not a chemistry major make. Okay, well, that's good to know. That was what mom did. That was not really my thing, So sometimes that'll happen. But it's really, really helpful when we have that outside evaluation of our skill set, because we're going to think things and we're just not necessarily going to evaluate it correctly. Okay. This one's a little bit hard. This is back really on the scheduling, but you want to have the self-discipline to get done what you need to get done, even when there are enticing alternatives. One of the really cool things that happens on a college campus is you have a whole bunch of single young people with a lot of energy. And then you stimulate them with all kinds of interesting ideas, very interesting ideas. And they're thinking new thoughts. They're exploring the world in ways that they've never done before. And it gets people charged up. It motivates people in a lot of ways to do a lot of different things. So there's an awful lot of activity going on a college campus. All sorts of things, athletics and theatricals and all kinds of things going on. So there's always something to do. But it may be that it's a distraction from what you need to get done. So you need to have the self-discipline to say no. That's a good thing, but not right now. That's not a good choice for me to make right now to do that. So I'm not going to. So as you're preparing to go to school, make sure you bring some self-discipline with you, because it's going to happen that you're going to have multiple things you want to do and responsibilities you have. And if you want to be successful at school, you've got to get the bottom line done. And yes, you're going to have a blast. There's a lot of opportunities, but you've got to keep it um, balanced. Okay. The next big area I want to talk about is relationships. The first thing is when you get to campus, I already talked about this a little bit about meeting your professors, but really your first job, besides getting the lay of the land and where's the food and where are the classes and all that, but start to create a support network for yourself. You need to know where the health services are in case you get sick or somebody gets sick. You know where to go to get help. You need to know where counseling is in case you or somebody is getting depressed or just needs somebody to talk to. Where are those people? Where do you get a prescription filled? Is that on campus? Do they have a pharmacy or do you need to go somewhere else? How far? Do they deliver? How does that work? Will they work with your doctor that's out of state, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? How is that going to work? You need to know where to get your groceries, where to get supplies. That one's pretty easy. But you also need to find mentors. I mentioned already, most schools have some kind of a writing skills center. And for the older students or the graduate students, it may even be a job for them to earn some money is to go and be a tutor. And they are sitting there for certain amounts of time, waiting for you to bring your paper. Oh, lowly freshman, bring your paper and say, okay, here's the assignment, here's my thesis, here's my paper, and they will review it for you, and they will help you make it better. That's why they're there. So the smart student takes advantage of that, especially at the beginning when you don't really know, is this college caliber paper? I just don't know. Am I writing at a college level? Am I doing what's needed? I don't know. I did good enough to get here with what I was doing in high school, but as I said, college is a different game. There's often a similar study centers tutoring place for math. You want to know where that is also, because when you get to those places and you're just stuck, you want to know. There'll be some specialized ones for computer programming in various different disciplines, and you'll hear about those through your classes. But the math one and the writing one are very central, and just about everybody's going to be able to use them. So know where they are. And I would say go visit these places. Go say hello to the nurses in the health place and the counselors over there. And you need to know where the registrar is because they have drop add dates. So say I want to take, I'm not sure, class number 101 and class number 103, and I can't decide. And so I'm registered for them both, but I'm really only going to take one. Okay, I've got to drop it. There's a drop date. Well, where do I go to do that? How do I do that? Is it online? Is it a person? All that. You need to know where the bursar is. The bursar is where you're going to pay your bills so that your tuition and fees are paid so they'll let you take the classes. But make sure that you know where those mentor type people are. Where's your RA? Where are upperclassmen in your major? And then you need to start making friends in the dorm and also in clubs, be that through the religious organizations or athletic organizations or special interests. Everything from Quidditch to chess to speech and debate, to you name it. There's French movies, there's all kinds of clubs. But you want to start to hook up with that at the very beginning of the school year, to start to have something to do that's not academic, that's just fun, that's part of your world. And sometimes you'll use that as a carrot. If I want to get these things done so I can go to the movie with those people or whatever, or we're going to drive to the city, or we're going to do whatever we're going to do. And it's just helpful to have that. Now, a colleague of mine did a little survey. He's on a campus, and some of the things the kids said were really helpful to hear. Like one kid said, well, new people kind of freak me out. That poor kid. As you go onto college campus, and everybody's new. So we need to work our way through that. Or I'm kind of awkward. Well, you realize that everyone's in the same boat. Everyone is new to this whole situation. Everyone's not quite sure where to go. Everyone has locked themselves out of their room or missed a meal because they got there the wrong time or got lost. everybody's a bit scared at the beginning because they don't know anybody. Even if you know somebody from your high school or a gang of people from your high school that go there, guess what? You're not going to see them very much. I remember there was one guy from my high school that also went to college where I went to college. I never saw him for 4 years. Never saw the guy. There was only 6,000 people on campus, but I never saw him again. That just blew my mind. I thought for sure I'd see him. But everybody's scared. Everybody's feeling a little awkward at the beginning, and that's just fine. And everybody wants to make new friends. It is hard to put yourself out there, but do it. Absolutely do it. Don't go crazy, but get yourself out there. Get over your shyness. Go meet some other people, especially clubs. They make it easy because the reason you're in a club is because you choose to be, and it's because you have special interests in common with these other people, whatever it is. Okay, so that's the push to go make a social network of friends, peers, mentors, students and adults, special people that can do particular things, but make sure you have a network. That is, bar none, one of the most important things you need to do at the beginning, because stuff's going to happen and you're going to be happy and sad and confused, and you need somebody to talk to. And the kids who don't have anybody to talk to don't tend to be very successful. Even our introverts need to talk to people sometime. And it's okay if it's not with 500 people around, it's just 5, but find a place and plug in. And if you don't like that place, move on, go into somewhere else. That happens. Dating. This is a loaded topic. I can't tell you what to do. I can tell you that everybody that I know that has a graduate degree we've ever discussed this topic has said to wait, to really not get into it undergrad, because the emotional fallout of breakups is just too much. It's too distracting to have all of that going on and all that energy going on over there. And then if things don't go well, and you might hit and wipe out some grades, well, you might be taking your graduate school aspirations away with that. And you don't want to do that. It's just too much to risk. So by all means, be social. By all means, go out in groups. But dating for a lot of undergrads really doesn't make sense. So you need to be very careful about your relationships and your romantic engagements, because it just takes a huge amount of time and effort away from what you're doing and what you're there for. And it also limits you, because you're going to be all keyed in on this person and be missing a lot of other people and a lot of other events. So tread lightly is strong advice that I would give. It makes sense to do things in groups, absolutely. Absolutely. Go have fun. Okay, so now we're going to get to our first more difficult topic, and that is sex, okay? It's happening on campus, on every campus. The most conservative, straight-laced campuses have it going on, to where other campuses where almost everybody is being very sexually active. So we have to talk about this. It's one of those things that you're going to need to be ready to be successful on campus. It is an indisputable fact that having sex means taking risks. Okay, we can reduce the risks of unwanted consequences, but we cannot eliminate them. And also, I want to encourage you, it is okay to wait. The sexual activity level among high school students has been decreasing for the last number of years, and hopefully that will trickle up to the college years. I haven't seen surveys or data research that shows that yet, but I expect it's pretty crazy right now, and I'm thinking it's going to have to shift. So some things to know about it. We're going to get into an awful lot. There's a lot of information here. It just is what it is, and I think you will be better equipped to know and to have these things to think about before you're on campus. Sex, unfortunately, is not always consensual. 1 in 5 college women, so 20% of our girls, our young ladies, report being assaulted by an intimate partner. That's true for 1 in 15 guys as well, some kind of sexual violence. That's way, way, way too many. The vast majority of assault and rape victims know their abuser. And 90% of domestic violence, if you didn't know it already, is male on female. So we women need to take care of ourselves and be cautious. 1 in 6 women actually reports being stalked while they were in college. It's only like 1 in 19 guys, but an awful lot of stalked means they're being followed and they're afraid for their safety. It's not just being followed, but being afraid for their safety. These are indications that a lot of things are not the way they should be. 1 in 5 women are reporting being assaulted by a partner, and 1 in 6 being stalked. Okay, so we've got a situation that's not very comfortable, to be honest. So some realities here. Dressing a certain way does not mean a person is consenting to have sex. Dancing in a certain way does not mean a person, usually a woman, is consenting to have sex. Kissing, even passionately, does not mean there's permission for sex. Girls, we need to know that when we are French kissing, the boys have penetrated our person, right? Part of them is inside our mouth. And for a lot of guys, that's a signal of I'm in. I get to be all in. And it's just the way they're wired. They do, especially once they've had sex, they are very inclined to do that again. So it's we have to be careful about what we're doing, and we just do. It just is part of the reality. Both partners need to be able to give consent. If you're intoxicated, you can't give consent. And if you get your partner drunk to have sex with her, that's called rape, in case you were not sure what that was. That's called rape. No means no. It doesn't mean I'm playing games with you and I want you to do whatever to get me to say yes. It means I'm saying no. And it doesn't matter if whatever she says no, it means no. Back off. Do not become an abuser. Same if it's a guy. He says no, it's no. And yes means no if the yes was gotten by coercion. The please, baby, please, you want to, everyone else is doing it, or by threatening the person, or if you have to convince the partner. Yes needs to be a free yes. Okay? By both parties, clear and emphatic yes. Then we have consensual relations. Otherwise, we do not. So please be clear on that, because there's way too much date rape going on. And that is not good for anybody. Okay, the next part of sex that we need to talk about are consequences. There are emotional and physical consequences to having intercourse. When a woman has intercourse, her body releases oxytocin. It's a hormone. It's also released when a mother nurses her child, and it's a hormone that causes the woman to bond with the other person. So the mother with the child, the woman with her lover. And it's very, very, very strong. It is a glue that keeps mothers going, no matter how tired they are and dealing with the baby and whatever's going on. And it's the glue that makes the girls very attached to the guys they've been with. Guys don't have this, so they can walk away and they're not feeling so connected as we women are. We're just made differently. So please, sometimes we're thinking, oh, well, we'll have sex and that will make the relationship closer or whatever. He'll really think I care, whatever. That doesn't work. And we've all probably been told that a lot of times, but it's one more time. Obviously, all of that feeling connected and feeling robbed or whatever that's going on, if it's, depending on how things have happened, takes away from our ability to focus on our schoolwork. Remember, we're going to college to get an education so we can go be responsible adults doing something to contribute to society. So we have to be careful. There are physical outcomes of sexual activity as well. The first one is sexually transmitted diseases. So if you go to the Center for Disease Control and you search for STDs, you're going to get chlamydia, genital herpes, gonorrhea, trichomoniasis, syphilis, bacterial vaginosis, HIV, and HPV, just as starters. Every year there are 10 million new cases of sexually transmitted diseases for people between 15 and 24. As of 2008, 1 in 4 teens already had an STD in high school. So they're already coming to college with sexually transmitted diseases. Just ready to share it with you. The most common one is called HPV. There's a vaccine for it, so you may have heard of this at the doctor's. Unfortunately, there's more than 100 types of HPV. It's a virus, right? So the human papilloma virus has a lot of varieties. It is the #1 cause of cervical cancer. It also causes cancer in the head and the neck. And you're thinking, I'm a college kid. Why do I need to hear about cancer? Well, because you may be opening yourself up really wide to getting it. That's why. There is a vaccine, and it's very effective. However, it's only effective against about 9 types of HPV, and there's 100. So that's a problem. Also, it's designed to be given in 3 shots over 6 months. Are people really doing all 3 shots? And that's a lot of going to the doctor, and a lot of people don't bother with it all. So they're not fully vaccinated either, even for the 9 kinds. So there's a lot of issues here. The CDC says that HPV is so common that nearly all sexually active people will get some form of it during their lifetime. And an awful lot of them aren't going to bother us. When our immune systems are strong, we get colds all the time and we don't notice. It does not develop into an illness. And they also state, the CDC, that you can get symptoms of these STDs, of HPV, years, even decades later. Therefore, you can't figure out where you got it, okay? Most of the time, it doesn't cause any problems, but when it does, now we're looking at genital warts and cancer. And the types that cause warts are different from the types that cause cancer. It doesn't mean that if you have warts, you're not going to have cancer. You could get both, but you don't know. And if you have cancer, you're not going to know till they do a pap smear or something else and find out that you have cancer. And they just changed with the healthcare changes. They've just changed from encouraging, allowing women to have annual pap smears to have them less often. And so now we're going to go longer with cancer because we're not going to know it's there because they're not testing us anymore. Not so keen. Okay? Now, some people say, oh yeah, but we'll just wear a condom. That'll help. And that's true. Latex condoms can help protect you from HPV. The problem is that HPV can infect areas not covered by the condom, so it can get passed anyway. And men should get the shots too to protect their partners so they don't become carriers for those 9. So I recommend the shots. The side effects seem to be reasonable, but remember that's not going to protect you from all the types. So sorry. Another common STD, according to the Centers for Disease Control, is chlamydia. In 2013, there were nearly 1 million cases among 15 to 24-year-olds. 68% of all the cases that there are in your age group. If a young lady is among that million, she may well never have children. And it usually doesn't have any symptoms. It just goes up and damages her fallopian tubes, and she's not going to have kids. So how do you get an STD? I mean, like, how far is too far? I mean, I'm not going to the convent, right? So how far is too far? Unfortunately, skin contact between mid-thigh and mid-torso is plenty good for most of them. There are some that require bodily fluid, but some just skin-to-skin contact is enough. So let me translate that. Oral sex is not safe. Manual or finger sex, not safe. Intercourse, of course, not safe. So you can get an STD and become sterile or get cancer from it without ever having intercourse. Nifty neat, huh? So sex has a lot of consequences, and we haven't even talked about what people used to think about as first, which is pregnancy. With the STDs just exploding, pregnancies actually become kind of a minor problem, and we all know how significant that is. So there are no good solutions when we're pregnant. We have no good options. From the time a baby implants in our uterus, our body is shifted, there are hormones in place and systems triggered. Our body is doing everything to support the life of that child. So that's just the way, biologically, women work. So what do? There are no good options, as I said. So basically, you can have the child or you can kill the child. So let's explore. If you have the baby, you're probably going to have to deal with social stigma or other pressure from people around you. It's sort of interesting. Everybody's doing it as far as sexual activity, but then people are going to get on you because you got pregnant. I'm sorry, it's just weird. You're going to have to deal with a lot of people saying, oh, abort the child so it doesn't mess up your life. You might have to drop out of school for a term or two. You're obviously going to need to tell your parents, who most likely have been paying most, if not all, of your college costs, that you have a major interruption to your school that's happening. You'll also be cooperating with your body. You'll also be taking care of your child by allowing your child to come to birth. You may lose your child to miscarriage. It happens about a third of the time, usually during the first trimester. So it may be that you choose not to abort your child and you lose the child anyway. And when you give birth to the child, then you still have two choices. As I said, none of these options are good. These are all very, very difficult situations. You can put the child up for adoption. Then the child that you have nourished in your body is being raised by other people. It can be strangers or it can be people that you know. These days, open adoption is pretty much normal. So you can have a relationship with that child if you'd like, which is really neat to be able to do. I mean, it's impossibly hard to give up a baby, but to be able to hear that they're doing well and see pictures, I think would give some consolation. Or you can raise the child. You may try to go back to school and sort that out, which is very difficult to deal with babies and going to school. Or you may drop out of school and limit your options. There are no good options. Now, on the other side, if you choose to abort your child, you're likely going to need mental health care to deal with the depression right away and or on the anniversary of your child's death. Health insurance companies have for a long time reported a correlation between the abortion claims and then subsequent, a year later, the mental health claims, the counseling claims. You'll also incur a higher incidence of breast cancer. An average of the results of recent studies show that you'll have a 554% higher chance of having breast cancer if you have had an abortion than if you have not had one. About 10% of women who have abortions have immediate physical problems ranging from excessive bleeding to infection to sterility to death. So if this is the option that you choose, I would certainly have some backup support so that if you have any complications medically, you can get care right away. Often women do this in secret and people don't know, and the ones that die, usually it's because nobody knew what was going on and realized there was that big of a problem, and they don't get them care. Post-abortive mothers also have a 65% increased chance of becoming depressed, and those with no previous history of anxiety have a 30% chance of developing generalized anxiety symptoms. Other post-abortive problems include increased alcohol use, disturbed sleep, nightmares, eating disorders. 30 to 50% of women who have abortions experience difficulties in subsequent relationships, including an aversion to men, aversion to sex, painful intercourse, and promiscuity. Lastly, women who abort are 6 to 7 times more likely to kill themselves in the year after abortion than those who give birth. So the consequences of sex are significant, and they really need to be considered. The next topic is drugs. As I said, there's a lot of information, and you need to know these things so you can make the best decisions for yourself, and you can be a support to the students around you, because your goal here is to get an education. Okay? Are you going to make mistakes and do things that you regret? Probably. Most of us have. That's part of the human condition. So let's learn a little bit about drugs. The most abused drug on campus is, no surprise, alcohol. We're going to take a look at others first, and then we'll come back to alcohol. I think. Yes, good. Okay. Okay. Per the U.S. News and World Report, half of college students admit to binge drinking and/or drug use at least monthly. Harvard did a survey. They found that 98% of drug users abuse more than one substance at a time. And there's many studies that show a definite progression from soft drugs to hard drugs. Does that mean if you have a drink, you're suddenly going to be a Coke addict? No, but there's a progression. You don't generally start with the hard stuff. You work your way up. Marijuana is the #2 most abused drug on campus. It is addictive. About 9% of users become addictive, so a lot of people don't, but it can be addictive. It can be smoked, baked in brownies, even served in tea. Side effects of using marijuana, Mary Jane, pot, whatever you want to call it: loss of coordination, increased heart rate, lowered immune system, which leaves you more susceptible to the effects of things like HPV, by the way. Higher chance of risky behavior, because you lose your inhibitions a little bit too. You're a little bit zoned out. Poor memory, slower reaction time, respiratory issues, lack of motivation, and higher chance of car accidents. So none of those are things that are going to be really helpful to your academics. You will also see cocaine, heroin, ecstasy, and LSD. Ecstasy is a rave drug, so it tends to be at these events. It's a stimulant and a hallucinogenic. It means you can see stuff that's not there. Almost 13% of college students have tried it. Kind of blows my mind, because it just doesn't sound like anything interesting to intelligent people, but okay. It's often used to increase pleasure, so it's linked to risky sexual behavior. So people are going to try and do it to enhance the sexual pleasure that they're having. Cocaine and heroin are highly addictive. They increase heart and blood pressure. They're also super expensive, so really, the hard drugs are really going to get in your way, big time. Prescription drugs are also being abused. Everything from depressants being shared with people that they're not prescribed for, other things. Over-the-counter drugs are being abused too, like cough medicine, NyQuil. Kids are drinking the whole bottle at once to feel a buzz. I could think of a lot of better things I would rather do than drink a whole bottle of NyQuil, I got to tell you. But, okay, this is what people are doing. So I want you to know this is what's going on. You may face these things, so you are ready. Warning signs of addiction. If you see these in yourself or someone else, let's get some help. Poor academic performance, drastic weight changes, isolation, trouble with the law, that fits in, right? Car accidents, because we got a lot of coordination that's being diminished here. High-risk sexual behavior, agitation, stress, anxiety, excessive sleepiness, decreased focus, starting to skip classes, sleep through, get depressed. These things are not leading to success at college, okay? They're leading the opposite direction in a big, big way. And then, as I said, I was going to talk about alcohol. 4 out of 5 college students drink while on campus, despite the fact that 3/4 of them are underage. So that's 80% of college kids are drinking on campus. That's a lot. Why are they drinking? Well, to fit in, to reduce their anxiety, to have some fun, to lower their inhibitions, or to deal with depression, which is interesting because alcohol is a depressant, but some people will do that. Excuse me. More than 1,700 students every year die from alcohol-related injuries. It's the #1 date rape drug, and it plays a role in over 100,000 rapes and 700,000 reported cases of assault every year. That just makes me sad. So, I'm Irish. Drink responsibly, please. And let's not take advantage of people who have had too much. That's just what that says about us as a society, that this is going on, that so many of our young men are forcing themselves on young ladies who are incapable of consenting, incapable of really being present. This is very sad behavior. This is very disrespectful. It is not the best. Um, and that gives, again, our females are having a lot that we're having to overcome because we're getting wounded. So I'm letting you know this because I'm calling you guys to be responsible and strong and do something better. I'm calling you girls to be careful because you're not going to campus to get beat up with all of these things going on. This is an awful rough path right now to get to be an adult, to get the education you need to be an adult. But this is what's going on, and forewarned is forearmed. Alcohol is obviously addictive. Ask anybody in AA. And also, it doesn't get out of your system any faster if you drink coffee, exercise, or take a cold shower. It just does what it does. Okay, so that was the heavy stuff. So let's finish up here. We're going to shift into 5 rules for when you get to campus. And these come from Malcolm Gould's book, College Success Guaranteed. So here are your 5 rules for success. Go to class. Every class. Successful students attend class. And I will add to that, I had an experience my sophomore year in college where I had a physics class at 8 o'clock in the morning. I got the low draw and I was late registering, and all the spots for the classes at a reasonable hour were gone. So I had it at 8 o'clock in the morning, I don't forget, 2 or 3 days a week. And I was working at a grocery store, often closing. So there'd be times I would work till close the store at midnight, and by the time I was done, and then I had some shelves to stock, it was 2 in the morning before I got home, and I had an 8 o'clock class the next morning. So you better believe I slept through that sometimes. And I kick myself because what I should have done, even though I was registered in the 8 o'clock class, the teacher also taught the same class at a different time. I should have gone to those other lectures because it was the same professor, and kept up if I was going to miss the 8 o'clock. But make sure you get to class. It's very hard to be successful when you don't go to class. Study, number 2. Study 3 hours a day, 5 days a week. Please note that doing your homework is not the same as studying. For some of your classes, you're going to have to do problem sets, especially in math and science classes, that are like homework. That's not the same as studying. Studying is reviewing and summarizing your notes. Get the Straight A book for all the details of what studying is and how to do that. Number 3, commit to something. Get a job, join a club. Don't drown in your free time. I've talked about this already, but you definitely want to establish a routine, stick to it, and being involved, it helps create your support system. It gives you some goals and some things to work toward when you're going through the grindy, hard parts of some classes. Because sometimes we've got to take required classes that are not related to our major. We're not interested. We just have to do them in order to graduate. And it's really helpful to have something to counterbalance that. Or sometimes we have classes that are in our major that we like. It's just really, really hard this semester because we've got a lot. Number 4, get a mentor, create a support system. This is key to being successful at college. Your parents aren't with you, it's time to create your own support system. So people in your dorm, your classes, healthcare staff, counseling staff, academic advisor, professors, the writing center, math tutoring center. I went over this already, but it's part of these 5 tips. And that way you know who you know to whom you should go, how to get a hold of them, where they are, when you need them. And don't be afraid to ask. There's no shame in saying, I need help, because everybody does sometimes. The smart ones are the ones that say, I need help, and then they go get it. Okay? Those are the kids that are successful. And then number 5, procrastination kills. You absolutely need to get on top of your schedule. Plan your projects and your papers. Do not procrastinate. Remember what I said earlier about getting the syllabus the first day of class and then sitting with your calendar that day and planning out when are your midterms, when are your major papers, what is required for this class, when is it, and then putting even preparation for the exams or papers 2 and 3 weeks ahead of time so that it's already there. When do the readings due, all of that stuff, so it's right there. Stay on top of your schedule. Do not get behind. You don't want to be that kid that's 500, 1,000 pages behind in the reading, because you have no idea what's going on. You can't participate in the discussion and you get so far behind, it's very easy to get depressed and give up. And then you're screwed. You're not going to pass that class, and you need it. And depending on where you're at, you might miss a scholarship or trigger your loans or all kinds of things because you're not full-time anymore, because you've had to drop a class or whatever. And college is expensive. It's pay to play here. It's not like high school where I could take it over in the summer and it's public school, I don't have to pay for it. Everything is pay to play here. So there's a cost, time and effort. We have amazing, incredible opportunities on our college campuses. So being on top of your schedule is going to give you the opportunity to go find the internships, the study abroad programs, the research opportunities, the jobs, the working with the professors one-on-one on various things in informal ways. All kinds of things are there for those who are organized and have the time. So procrastination kills. It will hurt your grades. It will take away opportunities. You have an amazing, amazing adventure ahead of you at college. There's so much going on. Stay focused. Minimize the stuff that's going to distract you. Sex, drugs, alcohol, other activities, things that are just, shiny objects and I'm not doing my work anymore, whatever that is. And have a great experience and get a fabulous education. That's why we're here, to show you how to do that. Cal Newport's How to Become a Straight A Student. Malcolm Gould's, that's G-A-U-L-D, College Success Guaranteed, are the 2 books I recommend. As I said, that first week of class, make sure you visit your professors at least once during his or her office hours. Introduce yourself, ask any questions you may have about the syllabus and his or her expectation. Just establish some rapport. It's very okay to say, hi, I'm here from wherever I'm from, and how can I be successful in your class? Where'd you come from? Many times they did not go to the school that you're at. They're working there. They didn't go to school there. And, oh yeah, I'm from here or there. You find something in common, or you just get to know them a little bit as a person. Get an idea of who they are. That's fine. They're there because they want to teach. I mean, some of them are heavy research, but you're not going to know what they're into and what their interests are. And you may go, wow, well, I did a science fair thing on that or something else, and I'm really interested. Or, gee, could I come to the lab and just watch? Whatever's going on, or your latest book of poetry. That's really cool. Is it at the bookstore? Go look at it. Maybe you like the stuff. Find out. So at this point, you're pretty well informed about going to college. It's extremely different from high school. Do not expect to get the same grades. You're going to be working a lot harder. You're totally capable of it. Otherwise, that school would not have accepted you. Please remember, you got accepted because they think that you can handle the load at their school. You can be successful there. So go be successful. You're taking huge, important steps to be an adult. You're breaking through some fear. You're having to get yourself organized and develop your skills and handle some challenges. And those are adult things. And mom and dad are not over your shoulder saying, oh, be home by this time, or don't do that, or don't hang out with that person. You're going to have to do that yourself. I am open if you would like to send me an email if you're curious about the information that I gave in this webinar. It's all footnoted in my notes. I didn't make it up on any front at all. Center for Disease Control and abortion people and academic people, etc. Depression and anxiety people, all of that, because this isn't about my agenda. It's just about what's out there and what the consequences of things are, so that you can make awesome decisions for a fabulous college career. As I said in the beginning, if you're not sure about your career goals, that kind of thing, drop me an email, kob@celticcollegeconsultants.com, and say, hey, I want to get a Career Dimension account. I'm just not quite sure why I'm doing what I'm doing, or what I want to do, or I want to validate it, or I just need to explore. And that's fine. They're $55. They've been that price for a long time. Hopefully they'll stay that price for a long time. And it's cheaper through me than getting it yourself. And that account, it stays active. It's not like, oh, you can only use it for 3 months. You can use it for 5 years. That's fine. As long as I'm still doing this, and that's going to be a long time in the future. So I wish you well. Remember, they accepted you because they think you can succeed. You've spent the extra time to prepare. You've got a couple books to read. Neither of them are very long. And you are going to do great. As I said at the beginning, you have 24 hours to watch this again. So hopefully all is working well with the technology so you can watch it again and take notes. Be prepared, do what you need to do, and go have a fabulous college career. Look forward to hearing about your successes. Connect with me on Facebook, drop me an email, send me a note. I love that. Sometimes I get notes from students in the mail. Get to hear about what they're doing, and it's very, very exciting to see the students that I've worked with in high school and how they're doing. And even when they graduate from college, and cheering them right along. It's just very exciting. Go have a great time. College is fantastic. Yeah, there's stuff going on. There's always stuff going on. It's okay. So I'm hoping it didn't depress you, but you do need to know some facts. It's just like learning to drive. You got to know where the cliff is and where the stoplight is and all those things. It's like, oh, it doesn't mean you're going to go hit one, but you got to know what it is, consequences of things you do and don't do, and oh, all right, now you can make good choices. So we've done the same thing here, and I look forward to hearing about your success. Have a great, great time. Bye-bye.